Yeah, they say he's a thief, they might be right. They say he's a junkie, well alright. They say he's a murderer, and for sure they're gonna die. Who is Mr. Horn tonight? They say he's old, Da Vinci draw his logo. They say he's cold, so the Lizard King's mojo. They say he's original, worked out in Wu-Tang's dojo. Who is Mr. Horn tonight? Fire, walk with me. Fire, walk with me. Fire, walk with me. Fire, walk with me. They say he's evil, throw a rave on a Tuesday. Go, hey Joe, Fritz, we need the basement. Tell the red-eyed Jedi I found the perfect placement. They say he's hot like Michael Lange, sniffing lead from the ceiling. Till you look like, yeah, you look like a painting. Yeah, they say he's sweet like stevia, wondering why he don't see no color in Ray-Ban Charlie's eye.
Welcome everybody to Empathy Podcast. Finally, we are back here in the studio today with Jeppe Toubro.
Yeah.
Welcome today to the show. You are also going under our artist project name with a project called Orb Out.
Yeah, it's basically my last name reversed.
Oh.
Yeah, so it kind of made sense.
Okay.
I met a few artists that used the last name reversed, and then I reversed it and realized that it kind of sounded like something else.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just gonna stick to that for a while.
Yeah, it takes on a new meaning. For sure. Yeah.
Also, I think everything gets some meaning from the name, and I noticed that a lot of projects that I really like have some sort of random name, like a name that doesn't mean too much.
Oh yeah.
Because if it has like a really specific name, then sometimes the project doesn't.
Maybe it tells a little bit too much. It gives away too much information.
If the name is not so important, then I think it becomes more about the music maybe than about the implications in the name or what you want to achieve with using that particular name.
Yeah, for sure. Like I have had I'm very happy to have been able to follow a little bit the project you've been doing in and out throughout, like at least the last year, I would say.
Yeah, a little bit more as well. I was actually in this very studio with Javier when I started on the project.
Oh yeah.
I had written I had made some written work, and then I had the idea for this Benjamin Horn themed project, which was kind of this superstar alter ego devil person. And it came also out of a random coincidence by finding this health security card in Berlin with a friend that had the name Benjamin Horn on it. Now we just heard the track, so I'll just jump into the story of that. And then I started writing some songs from that perspective, trying to imagine what this person was and how he would make music and so on. So it became this project called Who is Benjamin Horn first, and then it became this project called Benjamin Horn.
Oh yeah.
And then in the end it turned into the song we just heard, and then a new project which is the distillment of those songs into like this Orb Out project, where it's I think it's succeeded pretty well. It's not completely done yet, but it's been a really interesting process to work with a very structured narrative, very sort of high concept, and then you go more and more into it, and it becomes something else. It melts away a little bit, all the concept things, because you notice that it constricts you a little bit from doing the music, and for me at least, since I know what story was behind it, the songs and the story is still kind of in there.
Yeah,
which I like.
You can say that by making this character of you can say that he basically comes to live a life of his own because of the process of traveling essentially, and incorporating musicians and producers and working across like borders essentially of many different environments and cities, as I know you've been doing as well.
Also I think now I don't unfortunately I don't do a lot of stage performances. I mostly work on my own, but I think in the best possible case you can also, I imagine that's how it is for actors and so on, that you can get into the mindset of that character so much that some decisions you wouldn't make yourself, you know that character would make those decisions, and I think that can be an interesting, it would be an interesting process to explore further, to make a project from the archetype of a different character than yourself, and then see if it could change somehow, or if you would approach it in a different way.
Yeah, and in a way you explore your surroundings by placing a fictional character into the surroundings. So it's a way to basically, like the first sentence of the music, "Who is Mr. Horn?" It always, to me it's a pretty fundamental question in some regard, because it opens up so many possibilities of basically exploring contemporary archetypes, as you said. Contemporary archetypes really in the music scene today.
Yeah, that's also where there's also this song we just heard is kind of it was also a play, maybe not such a successful play, but like a word play on these kind of bravado style hip hop songs.
Oh yeah,
where you're showing off and whatever, and then instead it's just this kind of who is this guy? And then there's these kind of typical bravado style lines about him being this and that, except that all the lines are a little bit nonsense. So it should kind of turn into something else. I don't know. Yeah. There was one really funny thing with there was this Twin Peaks inspiration. There's two inspiration that was interesting because they became part of the journey of the project itself. And one was on this track, there was from this Twin Peaks inspiration. Then on the chorus line, I found this Turkish rock metal singer, a really big, well-trained guy, and then I gave him the assignment to sing the chorus line backwards.
Oh yeah.
So he's singing "Erif Mirf Now Nearly" or something like that,
Oh.
And then it's reversed.
Kind of like the movies.
Exactly, like the Black Lodge kind of thing.
Okay.
And that was one of my proudest moments. I don't think you can hear it in the track, but it was just so much fun to know that I kind of commissioned a singer to do something that weird,
Oh, yeah.
And then him sending the track back, that was really a proud moment, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was got a lot of fun. And then the second thing was, that was also right before I was in this studio the last time, I went to Berlin with the project, and one of the other motifs for the inspiration, back then it had the title of the mill, because as in this song, Benjamin Horn, that's what he does in Twin Peaks, he owns the mill. And then the mill for me is also an image of many different things.
Yeah.
It became kind of an image of samsara, the wheel of suffering. but also from my personal life, an image of the welfare system in Denmark, because that's kind of how I make my living.
Yeah.
But then there was I found a Rembrandt painting, which I connected quite deeply to, and I'm not a good enough musician to make that in sound, but he made a painting called The Mill, which was a painting that he made when he went bankrupt.
Oh, yeah.
And he went back to his hometown and painted his father's mill. And so that was a really interesting motif to work on creatively as an inspiration. And then I ended up, when I was in Berlin, living in Rembrandtstraße by coincidence.
Wow.
So the second version of the album was finished in Rembrandtstraße. And the first album version was finished here in Aarhus. And then I kind of went to Berlin with this idea of this Rembrandt painting. Then ended up living in Rembrandtstraße.
So suddenly you inherit the narrative that you
and it's something it's something that I highly recommend. I think that's one of the things that can be incredibly beneficial about working with art. There's this idea that our subconscious can have some sort of impact or force on things around us. We attract the things we need in our life.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that you block yourself off from when you're not working with something you chose yourself. Because if you choose it out of some sort of desire, then you go in the direction of something you need to encounter.
Yeah.
Without making it too complicated. But I think that's one of the things that happen when you embark on these kind of journeys of a story you came up with yourself. Because I experienced that quite a lot, these synchronicity events.
Yeah.
Where there's something that logically doesn't make any sense, but makes a lot of sense when it happens.
For sure.
Yeah.
So with this in mind, let's just listen to a few more tracks from the album that you're producing at the moment.
It'll be finished soon.
Finished soon.
And hopefully also released, let's see.
Yeah, okay, great. We're definitely looking forward for the release as well. Like having the conclusion of this process is definitely gonna be very nice. So
thanks.
Let's take a listen to some more music from the project here.
Mm-hmm.
Delinquent ancient gatherings, sent to infection the flock of who have come to terms with something raw and new, in deliciously pale, ghostly hues of expressions lit by moonlit blue.
How come the ones we really want only ever sleep away? How come the ones we really want only ever sleep away?
Yeah, you hook all the phones, nest playthings in a net. And don't forget you got get at the outset, trembling at the summoning, golden woven spider webs filled with magic drippings. Let the tongue swallow swallows, brink of horizon, the edge of the world of flame.
Only ever slip away like sand from wilted fingers, whispering how time takes its toll.
How come the ones we really want
Wilted fingers whispering
only ever
time takes its toll.
slip away?
Time takes its toll.
comment a little more on this journey, this character, Benjamin Horne? Like, how would you describe the character? Like, what the archetype of this person?
In the early stages of the project, it was kind of the driving character, and also the question was the drive, like to figure out who that was. But then, like in these tracks we're hearing now, this version of the album, which will be the finished version, it's actually more that it's a little bit like the shadow archetype, without sounding too intellectual about it. But it's the character that was outlined in the first track, and actually the songs are supposed to be like scenes in a protagonist's journey, and Benjamin Horne is the antagonist. So basically, the first song of the album is about him being in the normal world. He works in a factory or something like that, and then the place where he works, the mill, is then owned by this Benjamin Horne character. And then this track is the scene where he is too scared to go on the journey. So basically, that is, he's too scared because he's too old.
Yeah.
And
okay.
And also that everything we do, we lose. It's like kind of a heartbreak song, this one. So it's this kind of lamentation, where he's afraid to go on the journey. And then the next song on the album is where he meets this goddess, who kind of, he realized that he has to go on the journey to become himself. And all of it was stolen from Joseph Campbell. Like I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's this...
The hero's journey.
Yeah, exactly. And it's completely cliched and so on, but I used it a ton of times because I always wanted to get good at telling stories. Because if the story in the staging of the different songs, if you can call it that, if the story was too complicated, it wouldn't make any sense. And of course, now I'm sitting here and telling what it is. It should be quite apparent, and I hope it will be when it's finished. I hope it's going to be this kind of thing where you can close your eyes and then it feels like going on a journey with the character and coming full circle. I don't know if that's going to work, but it's been a great way to have an approach to each track. What should be in there and what shouldn't.
Yeah. It makes you think like these universal tropes that has been kind of like so utilized in almost all of music and film and storytelling in general. It makes you wonder a little bit. Especially now that we have seen like this huge societal disruption during all of the pandemic, you know, a lot of the contemporarity of how people essentially identify with the hero's journey and with the archetypes. It kind of like it kind of like opens up a lot of questions about like how these archetypes really come to life in modern day music and modern day storytelling in general, like which to me comes down to which is also why it's interesting to start out by asking a question like who is this character, because in a way it's also a question about asking who is he today, like it's because we know the romantic like archetype, we know the poet archetype in a way, you know, but like how does he really fit in a contemporary room, in a contemporary scene like we are seeing today? It's to me a fascinating thing to wonder about, you know, and explore.
Yeah, and I also think it's there's something with one of the things I like about this about using these different narrative structures is also this kind of search for something that is a little bit universal, something that makes sense on a deeper level, you know, something that makes sense in a way where you don't have to be able to understand it in order to understand it. Yeah, and I think in the first track we heard, I don't know if he's the poet archetype or if it's more like this.
Maybe not the Horn archetype, but maybe.
I mean, definitely the protagonist in this story, which is more or less an abstract story, because each song has its own merit as well, but definitely the protagonist is the story master. Mr. Horn is a shadow. It's this kind of idea where you're also using language and you're also using beauty, but you're using it for your own means, and you're also using it to suppress other people.
Okay, with this in mind, let's just go to the next scene in the journey of the album.
Through barren winter storms, I've seen your flowers bloom. Those dark, rigged edges round your eyes make a dead girl's wound. That would be a way to the golden living you. That would be a way to the golden living you. I am the 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 I. I thought you were my echo. I thought you were my echo. But I found out that you were my mirror sky. You were my mirror sky. I am the I am the I am the I am the I. Mesmerized saviors, I leave the landscape too soon. Ancient ritual castration could make a dead girl's wound. That would be the way to the golden living you. That would be the way to the golden living you. I am the I am the I am the I am the I. And you're here, I'm here. The lily light of the spirit. I thought you were my echo. I thought you were my echo. But I found out that you were my mirror sky. You were my mirror sky. I am the I am the I am the I am the I.
So you can definitely also feel like how all of these the play of multiple different kind of like genres and sounds is also like shaping the narrative and that also comes down to your personal journey in when producing this music and producing this project.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where that only happened because of this narrative structure. It started with having 13 songs, which were just songs basically. But then you know how like every song is a little bit different. So sometimes you just kind of put in some work and suddenly it sounds like a track, and then you have the beginning of a form, I think. And then I had like these 13 songs, and then I used the Joseph Campbell thing and tried to put them in order. And then I went to Berlin and did it again and had 10 songs. And then now in the end I only had 8 songs, so it got kind of cut down a little bit. And in that choosing which song should fit with which scene came a lot of this different selection of instrumentation. I think that was a big part of it.
Okay, yeah.
Doing the songs in like a different way, and then having like a palette of many songs, and then having fewer and fewer, and also selecting the ones that were a little bit different.
Yeah, and working with a wide array of collaborators as well.
Yeah, it was. I suddenly had a side income by coincidence, and then it's the whole this last generation, which is getting finished, started with this track because I had a version of it where the guitar was. I liked the sound, but it was a little bit sloppy. And this was one of the tracks that when I played it to people, they said this song had some potential. And then I tried to get a guitarist here from town, and he was like not feeling so good and so on. And I tried working with volunteers like you a lot of times. And you end up spending, it's great, and I love working with my friends and so on, but you also, sometimes you end up spending a lot of time and energy on convincing people or getting it to happen. that can be a drag sometimes, especially if you have a specific thing in mind. Like if you are experimenting, it's great, but if it's like you want to do something very specific and you can't find a guy. So what I did with this one was that I had a little bit of extra money coming in, and so through an online service I found a guitar player in Sarajevo.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and he's with a crew of people that delivers tracks for people, kind of. And when he sent me the guitar track here, the guitar track is in... I asked him to deliver an electric guitar in 124 BPM and then the acoustic in 62. So the electric guitar is slowed down half tempo, which is a trick I learned from Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
Then it gets this extra crunchiness. If it should be really well, then you should do it on a tape machine.
Oh,
so you record it in double tempo and then slow it down. Then it gets this like kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I got the track from him, I could suddenly hear the difference in how the song sounded when everything was in even time. And suddenly it was like, okay, I actually already have what I need if I get things in even time, kind of. So thanks to, I think his name was Vanya or something, from Armadillo Studios.
Okay.
Because him doing the tracking of the guitar on this track kind of made the whole thing happen.
Yeah, like it provided the answer to the
suddenly I had a very clear. Suddenly I could hear how the songs were gonna sound finished. I mean, this song is still kind of a big mess. It's the vocals are from a different recording and they're tuned down one note and like some other things, but I don't know. I think that's the vibe of the thing. That everything has like some weird shit going on that you're not supposed to do.
Inside
I know from knowing you that you have spent a lot of time working out of different cities like Berlin, Vienna, and all kind of different cities. So I was wondering, like, when you are planning a residency or collaboration, like, are you looking for a specific environment that has a specific sound, or how is it really to work?
No, I mean, a lot of this project was done more or less with online resources, so it didn't matter so much. But it was written, this version of it was written in Vienna, like where I had a studio apartment for a while, and had time and money enough to focus on it and not do anything else for a month or more. Other than that, then I was traveling down through Europe, staying a lot in Budapest and staying in Krakow and Athens and other places. And what it did was mostly that then you would sit and you would work on your computer, and a lot of the parts to these tracks were delivered by freelancers from here and there. So there'd be a lot of waiting time, and then I would go out and see sites or explore or whatever. And I think I think that's a good way to go about it, especially when the thing you're doing is supposed to be about a journey. And it's a good idea to do a journey meanwhile. But it also gave this, I think, you explore a little bit more, I think, when you're moving.
You be my sinner, or you be my saint, and we dance alone from the cradle to the grave. When under like a swimmer in those veins of yours, fallen on the golden shore.
There's also something with it makes you a little bit sharper when you don't have a comfort zone.
Right.
Like you're more awake, so you're so So that's also an advantage, I think.
Yeah, and you apply and practice all of these like ideas of living certain kind of like in a way you it makes it easier also to see yourself. The characters you put in your story, to see these characters and express them within yourself. So in a way, it's also a way to, I guess, live the music in a way.
Yeah, very much so. And it's like, and that's actually quite important thing, I think, because some of this like variety of the different arrangements and parts in this music came from exactly having this mindset. So that instead of choosing what I already had, or it's like I would consistently choose something that was a little bit new or a little bit difficult or whatever for putting the things together. And then this track, I'm tempted to redo some of it because I like the beat a lot and it's not so apparent in the mix now. But this track is then the journey to the underworld, kind of. So it's supposed to be this journey across a river. And it was written by Hermann Hesse, actually, more or less. And again, so that hopefully it's, I don't know if that comes through in the music, but that hopefully it's, the next track isn't finished yet, but there's an American R&B singer on it who's great, and then some, and then it's a very jazzy track. It's it was made with it was my first time rearranging a jazz track.
Oh yeah,
it was
okay.
this piano piece I really like from the Amélie soundtrack, and it's very famous and very sort of, but it just made the song work. And so I was a little bit like, I can't use that because everybody knows it. I'm not going to be allowed to use it. So I found a harp player who had made the same track and was contacting her, but it turns out she was a really famous harp player. So of course they couldn't let me use it either.
Okay.
So what I did was that I found the notation, and then I had a bass player play the left hand and a clarinet player play the right hand. So that it's the same piece, you can kind of recognize it. Then there's a guitar player who plays the whole piece, but you can kind of recognize it, but not completely. It's going to turn out pretty nice. That's going to be the weirdest track of the album.
But I think it's a very interesting, like this blend of classical instrumentation and like soul with like techno or these kind of like crowd rock genres.
Yeah.
To me it reminds me a lot like the kind of like blending of different like textures reminds me a lot of like the sampled psychedelic hip hop tradition that arrived in like the 19s, and like it's a very
nice. Glad to hear you say that. That's very that was like I was working one of my friends is a hip hop artist.
Oh yeah.
And so a lot of how I suddenly got the songs produced myself was just by assimilating hip hop techniques, basically. That you take something and make it work in 16 bars. So I don't think that's coincidental. And then I'm glad you said this thing with texture. A lot of these different, like, if you look at it, then there's there's techno, and then there's cello and classical and jazz and blah blah blah. But it's more like texture based, like half a little bit feeling, and then very much just like which texture would be nice in this scene or in this song. That's kind of how it's put together. And then production wise, it's very similar to producing hip hop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's also why a lot of the tracks are like that. There's like kind of one thing that happens, and then you get the whole song. Like there's not so many breaks and so on yet, because I'm not that experienced with producing tracks yet, but it's coming along.
Yeah, it's tricky to work on a sample-based production for sure.
It's also sometimes that it's music can be so many different things, and sometimes, I mean, one of the things that I really love about hip hop is exactly this thing that sometimes it's just one thing that's really simple and really works, and then you have a whole track.
Amazing. So I want to say thank you very much for joining us today at the podcast, Jeppe. I'm looking very much forward for the further release of the full project, and to see also if I can manage to catch you live one day, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully around April there will start being some concerts. Cool. And then I'm working on the next one already, and I think this one will be finished early February.
Yeah. Amazing. And with that in guard, we are just gonna play out with the last track. I hope everybody enjoyed listening to the podcast, and
thanks for having me. And I also enjoyed very much listening to the other podcasts. I thought it's interesting to hear different artists express what they're doing and then hear some of the work. So it's been a pleasure.
I'm very happy to have you as well here. So that's definitely great to hear. And soon we are also gonna start to open up with more open calls for artist residencies. So that is also something to stay in the lookout for. And in the meantime, I will say thank you for listening, guys. Have a great time.
Take one little hamster in a wheel to make your car run. With two little hamsters in a wheel, you can get yourself a gun. With three little hamsters in a wheel, you can go to school. And with four little hamsters in a wheel, you can live in a world of fools. Live in a world of fools. Promise them a bigger wheel and a lot of fun you don't even have. Promise them a bigger wheel and a lot of fun You don't even have the mill makes the wheels for the hamsters on the field. The mill makes wheels for the hamsters on the field. With 5 little hamsters in a wheel, you can build a company. With 6 little hamsters in a wheel, file for bankruptcy. With 7 little hamsters in a wheel, you can make a church of rules. With 8 little hamsters in a wheel, overthrow a government of fools. Promise them a bigger wheel and a lot of fun you don't even have. Promise them a bigger wheel and a lot of fun you don't even have. The mill makes wheels for the hamsters on the field. For the hamsters on the field. Yeah, the mill makes wheels for the hamsters on the field.
The mill makes wheels for the hamsters on the field. The mill makes wheels. The mill makes wheels for the hamsters on the field.
Yeah, the mill makes wheels for the hamsters on the field.